Hey, J.C Agajanian here, broker associate with eXp, top grossing agent with the Whissel Realty Group, summarizing for you the mastermind that the Fast Forward Network put together for us each week. Let's get straight into it.
All right, it's another Monday, which means it's another Monday morning mastermind recap with the Fast Forward movement. And let's jump straight into the top three topics and questions that were fielded by the mastermind in today's Zoom meeting. So the first one is, what metrics are you tracking, and to some extent why? The next one is anyone having good luck outsourcing your ISA or your inside sales agent? And the third one is, what are the most important systems that are just a must in your business? So let's get straight into it. What metrics are you tracking? Well, if you've been in the business for any number of time, you'll know there's some general KPIs or key performance indicators that are important to keep track of. And these are applicable to yourself as a single agent, yourself as a member of a team, or yourself as a team leader. These are all important for whatever stage of business you're in. So Colton Whitney, huge producer in the Orange County area, piped up right away and said, hey, we need to track the basics. Conversations, well, leads first, conversations, and how many of those are set to appointments, and then how many of those appointments stick and become met appointments. And then he talked about showing homes as well. How many homes are you having to show before you are at the point where you're submitting offers? And then how many of those offers do you have to write before you get to a pending? And then how many of those pendings are sticking and closing, and how many of them are falling out of escrow? And then ultimately, how much is it costing you for a closing? How much does it cost to generate that lead, to nurture the lead, to convert the lead, and finally generate a paycheck? Excuse me. So these are generally important pieces of information to track if you're not already. So Kyle also jumped in and was talking about the age-old adage of having speed to lead, meaning calling immediately when the lead comes in or when the referral comes in. A lot of times, people get a voicemail and say, I'll try back later. But his advice is war dial. If you're not familiar with the concept, war dialing means you call someone, it's a strange number, so they don't pick up. You hang up either immediately or maybe 30 seconds to a minute later, call back. If they don't pick up again, do it again. And he cited some statistics that were interesting. He said that on the first contact, 2% of leads are actually converted. On the second contact, 3% are converted. On the third contact, 5% of leads are converted. And on the fourth contact, 9% of leads are converted. Fast forward to anywhere between the 5th and 12th contact, and you have 81% of conversions. So what does this tell us? First of all, call immediately, call often, and be persistent. People are not going to be pissed off at you for being persistent. The big feedback and concern that everyone always has is, I don't want to war dial anybody. They're going to ask me why I've called them 3 times in a row and they finally picked up. It doesn't happen. I've done it myself. It's really strange. You would think that's the automatic response, but usually they'll pick up and then you just start the conversation, and there's generally a question of some sort that you ask them as part of the initiation of that conversation. And the mind can really only do one thing at a time well. So if there's a question being asked, the person's probably focusing on the answer to that question, not what they were thinking about before they answered, which is, why is this person calling me 3 times? I don't have any science to back that up. That's just been my experience and what I think the reason we don't get that negative feedback from people when you actually go ahead and war dial people. Jen Wenner, another top agent, piped in and said she said you've got to know how many sales are happening in your market, and you've got to know how your particular market is being affected by the economy. For example, how long after the economy shifts are these prices going to feel that shift? You've got to be able to share this type of information with your clients. Or if the market has recently moved in your area, you've got to change the expectations from what things were a few months ago to what things are now. It's a dramatic different story right now. And we're doing that in our business as well. And I've repeatedly told people on listing appointments, and lately when I've had to seek price reductions. Hey, listen, you know what? Right in the first 2 weeks of June, we saw a dramatic change, and the whole market changed. And what we're expecting now here in San Diego is for homes to sell within 2 to 4 weeks, not 3 to 5 days, right? And just kind of talking them through what to expect, talking them through properties being sold at or near list price as opposed to 5, 10, 15% over list price, right? So really managing those expectations are huge, and you can't do that unless you have the data to back you up. Vic DeCaro piped in and said you need to know where your leads are coming from and how well your conversion rates are on each specific type of lead and source. So clearly this is another KPI or key performance indicator that you got to know, and that'll help you with your conversion, help you improve your business. If you've got one lead source that you're doing well at and one lead source that's not really converting very well, and they're both costing a similar amount of money to get those leads, well, that's an obvious move. Let's take the money that we're spending over here where they're not converting very well, put it over here, and we'll do more business, right? So that was pretty much the basics of it. Just track the basic numbers and know what it's taking to get business done and to get homes sold. So the next question is talking about ISAs. So inside sales agents, basically the grunt work of the real estate business, right, is making the phone calls, nurturing the leads. And of course, nowadays text message is huge involved with that. And we've never forgotten about email. But the ISAs are a huge piece of any larger team or even an independent agent who is growing their business with maybe an assistant and they're looking to add on another layer in the form of maybe a marketing manager for social and lead generation, and then that other piece of inside sales agents so that we can optimize our time, because most agents in the position to consider an ISA are going to be having their highest and best use of time in sitting down with clients, in negotiating offers, and not necessarily following up on leads. It's still a high and best use of your time. However, the thing about most agents is that they don't have the consistency and just stick-to-itiveness, I guess, to follow up not just day in and week in, but month in, month out, because a lot of these leads take a long time to convert. You have to nurture them for a long time. So an ISA is huge for that. So Kyle Whissel chimed in again as one of the first people to talk about this, and he said that, listen, hey, if the world blew up and he had to restart it entirely, he would hire an ISA. He said, hey, me personally, I'm terrible at long-term follow-up. This is kind of what I was just saying. And he said, you're lucky, if he follows up for 6 weeks like that, like I said, let alone 6 months. So he, the question is not is an ISA a good idea? It really is what the question was asking, which is, should we outsource it or should we have it in-house? I'll cut to the chase because we have answers from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different agents that chimed in. Almost all of them said some version of the same thing, which is in-house is better. Now, in-house is a lot more difficult. I've seen various iterations of ISA teams here within the Whissel Realty group, being on board here for 7, 8 years. And right now, it's finally really getting optimized, but it's taken a lot of work and a lot of retooling and changing how the approach is to the job, really. So Ed Kaminsky is up in Manhattan Beach. He just kills it with really high-end real estate. He said he started out with an outsourced ISA, and he quickly switched to in-house right away. He said the numbers went up like crazy, and the most important reason why is because just general fluidity, having an understanding of the market, and language is a big one too. Let's see here. Another agent said that they started with an outsourced ISA, and they've been using it for a while now, and the verdict is kind of still out, not quite sure. But the conversion rate is incredibly higher with an in-person ISA. So the other piece of that is that if you really incorporate that position into your company, they can also feel as part of the team. They're included in meetings, and they can also hold your agents accountable to follow up as well, so that you can truly work as a team on that specific lead, or of course, tons of leads applied to any individual agents, and follow up with them. Jay Bond said that he has 2 outsourced ISAs. He said first 90 days he got 2 appointments, and he hasn't had any closings from them. And he said they're having a hard time finding an in-person ISA in the office, and that again, one of the difficulties with outsourcing the ISA is the language barrier. So it's really important if you do choose to go that direction. Of course, it's way more cost effective, but you've got to spend a lot of money. Actually, there are companies who will recruit and find people overseas who actually don't have much of an accent at all. I don't know that you're ever really going to get over the barrier of knowing, like here in Southern California, how to pronounce street names that are largely Mexican language and have a double L and different things like that are just pronounced differently. So those are kind of giveaways that maybe an outsourced ISA might have as opposed to someone in-house. But it's important to keep in mind. Let's see here. Mark Gelman popped up and he said he's had ISAs in-house that are far better as far as ROI goes. So again, this is kind of a similar story. He did outsource ISAs for years actually. And when he brought them in, he had a huge gain in appointment set and conversions, the whole 9 yard. He looks, as far as the disc profile goes, looks for someone with a high D and a high C, someone who's got the patience to talk to someone for a long time and nurture them, but also the drive and determination to push for that appointment and go straight to the point. Got to be organized, got to be detailed, got to have good notes, got to have good follow-up, but you also want that person, like I was saying before, to be fully immersed within the company and feel as part of the team for sure. And of course, role-playing on a regular basis to keep those skills sharp are huge. To summarize it all, Kyle kind of piped in again towards the end of this topic and said, listen, for every one person having good luck with an outsourced ISA, he said, I can show you 100 that are doing better or either not doing good with an outsourced ISA or are doing better with an in-house ISA. So there's a lot to it, and it is a bit of a challenging puzzle on how to incorporate that into your business. Like I said, I've got a little bit of experience myself. I did hire an outsourced ISA for a while, and I stopped it because, well, I was getting some leads. I didn't have any conversion, and I think that lasted for a few months before I pulled the plug on it. And again, watching what Kyle's done inside of our team from the front row seat, I can vouch for everything he's saying. So that's kind of the take on ISAs. Now, systems. What systems are a must in your business? Well, I think there's a few obvious answers, and some of these spoke straight to that. So the first one, CRM is the most important thing you can do in your business, and your business is only as good as your database is, meaning you can have thousands of people in your database, but if they are outdated, they don't have accurate information, if maybe they used to have a home as a seller lead and you go back and look because it's been months or years since you've been in touch with them and that home is no longer theirs, how good is that lead really? So you have to have a good CRM, but more importantly, you have to work in it. You have to work that CRM as though your business depends on it, because it does. It doesn't really matter which CRM you choose. Everyone always wants to know what's the best CRM to use. Well, it's the one that you're going to use is the best CRM, right? So you've got to have one that you're comfortable with and that you're going to work in every single day. Other technology or systems that are a must are going to address accountability and tracking those KPIs from the first question that we had today. So, I don't know if you've ever heard of Monday. It's a project management software. We use that here as well, or Sisu. Sisu is great for real estate specific KPI tracking. There's actually a cheaper version of that called Google Records. It's not as good. Sisu is not cheap, but it's also really good and really user friendly. There's a lot of other systems that you can implement in your business. We use transaction management software. We use a CRM software. We use project management software. We use lots of things to keep the business moving forward at all times and to keep the team working as a group. So the other idea is not necessarily a system or a piece of technology, but just a philosophy. Joe Oz spoke up and said that anything you're going to do over and over in your business should be turned into a checklist of some sort. And whether that is a piece of paper with a checklist that you print out for each file, or if it's a system that you're using inside your business, inside the CRM, plugged into your CRM. If yours has an open API and you can have other pieces of software connected to it, that would be ideal. That's what we do, because Follow Up Boss allows you to poke under the hood and tweak and change things. So we've got all sorts of links and connections flowing into our CRM that allow us to track all this information. But anything you do regularly, new buyer checklist, listing a checklist, even down to your family to-dos, whatever it is, if it's a regular and repeated activity, and it doesn't even have to be every day or every week, but just something you're doing on a regular basis, systemize it. And then use whatever tools you are comfortable with to follow up on that to keep yourself accountable. So that is the long and the short of the top 3 questions we covered in our 1-hour Zoom this morning. If you have questions about any of the software that we use or want to discuss a little bit further, I'm happy to chat with you a bit more. Just reach out and we'll talk soon.
Hey, thanks for checking out the video. I hope you found it valuable and that there's something in there that you can implement into your business today. If you'd like more information, I'd love to be a resource for you. I'd also love to connect you with the Mastermind directly if you'd rather see that instead of catching my recaps. And if you're interested in joining the Fast Forward Network, DM me here and I'll hook you up. Talk to you soon.